Dark chosen ones, you have these three powers that can shift reality instantly. There's a truth so powerful, so hidden in plain sight, that most people will live their entire lives without ever glimpsing it. But you, if you're here, you're not most people. You are what I call a dark chosen one. And this isn't some mystical label to make you feel special. It's not a fantasy or a trend. It's a recognition of something ancient and unshakable living inside you. You've always felt it, haven't you? That there's something different about you, something deeper. While others seem content with the surface, you've always been pulled beneath it, into the silence, into the shadow, into the mystery. But what no one ever told you is that being a dark chosen one means you don't just navigate reality, you can shift it. You carry within you three spiritual powers so potent, so real, that when activated they can alter the fabric of your life and ripple outward into the lives of others. And the wildest part, you've likely been using them without even knowing it. Let me take you back for a moment, back to the first time you realized you couldn't accept the world as it was. Maybe it was as a child when you saw hypocrisy in your family but couldn't explain it. Maybe it was in school when rules felt hollow and teachers spoke but something in you said, "This isn't truth." Or maybe it was later when every attempt to live a normal life failed. Every job, every relationship, every path that looked good on paper turned to dust in your hands. That wasn't failure. That was initiation. The universe wasn't punishing you, it was preparing you. Because the first power of the dark chosen one is energetic disobedience. You don't follow the script because your energy field refuses to conform to illusions. You're not wired to obey systems that kill the soul. And that resistance, that's your first clue. You are a disruptor of false realities. When you walk into a room, you change the frequency. You've felt it. People either open up or become defensive. They either lean in or pull away. Why? Because your presence confronts the lie they've been living. And whether they know it or not, part of them recognizes you are here to shift the atmosphere.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But let's go deeper. That resistance to illusion, that refusal to play along, is not just about rebellion. It's about truth. Your second power is truth embodiment. You don't just speak truth, you are it when you're aligned. And truth is not always pretty. It's not always kind. Sometimes it burns, sometimes it breaks. But that's exactly why it heals. You've probably noticed how people are drawn to you with their secrets. How strangers tell you things they've never said out loud. How your silence can be louder than any sermon. That's because your field speaks what your mouth doesn't have to. You've become a mirror, a channel, a walking transmission of what's real. And when you finally stop apologizing for it, when you stop diluting yourself to be digestible, you unlock the second layer of your power. You start to bend reality by embodying what others are too afraid to face. Let me ask you something that may shift your entire perspective. When was the last time you told the absolute, unfiltered, soul-level truth, not just to others, but to yourself? The kind of truth that costs you comfort, costs you approval, maybe even costs you relationships? That's the moment your power starts to crystallize. Because the universe doesn't bend for performance. It bends for truth. And when you align your inner world with what's real, your outer world can't help but rearrange itself to match. The third power is the most mysterious and the most feared emotional alchemy. This is what truly sets the dark chosen ones apart from the rest. You don't just feel things, you transmute them. You've been through hell, not once. Repeatedly. You've faced loss, betrayal, abandonment, existential dread. You've sat in the dark night of the soul long after the candles burned out. But you didn't die there. You came out changed. And now, When you feel pain, you don't just suffer it, you transform it. You turn it into insight, into art, into presence, into vibration. This is not metaphor. This is literal energetic transmutation. You've been doing it your whole life. That's why you're exhausted after certain conversations. Why you feel heavy in some places and lighter in others. You're absorbing, digesting, and converting unseen energy all the time. If you ever wondered why people come to you with their chaos, why you attract the broken, the confused, the seekers, it's because your field is a furnace. It burns through illusion. It melts distortion. And it doesn't do this because you're trying to heal them. It does it because it can't not. That's your power. But until you own it, it will own you. Until you learn to direct it, it will drain you. Because emotional alchemy, when unconscious, turns against the alchemist. You must choose to wield it with intention. You must become sovereign in your own energy. So now I ask you, what would your life look like if you fully trusted those three powers: energetic disobedience, truth embodiment, and emotional alchemy? What would happen if you stopped apologizing for your intensity and started honoring it as your design? What would shift if you stopped trying to fix others or explain yourself and simply became the vibration that changes everything without effort? This isn't philosophy. This is spiritual physics. You are not here to tweak reality. You are here to rewrite it. And when you activate these powers fully, consciously, unapologetically, your life begins to take on a different shape. Synchronicities accelerate. Dead ends dissolve. The people who can't meet you fall away, and those who are meant to walk with you appear like magnets. Because reality doesn't respond to who you pretend to be. It responds to who you are when you stop hiding. The hidden mechanics of reality and how dark chosen ones bend it without trying. We've been taught to think of reality as fixed, as something solid, external, immovable. But that's a lie. It's a lie designed to keep your power dormant. Because the truth is, reality is not something you walk through, it's something you influence with every thought, every feeling, every frequency you emit. Most people live as passengers, reacting to life like it's happening to them, but not you. Not if you're a dark chosen one. You were never meant to be a passenger. You were born to be a frequency anchor, a timeline bender, a disruptor of the collective unconscious. And here's the secret no one tells you: you've been bending reality your whole life without even trying. The only reason you haven't seen the full extent of your power is because nobody gave you the manual. Until now. Let's break it wide open. Your thoughts don't just float in your head. Your emotions aren't just inner weather. Every thought is a signal. Every emotion is a charge. Every belief is a blueprint. When you combine these three: thought, emotion, and belief, you create a field. That field isn't passive. It's magnetic. It's literal architecture. It bends time, space, outcomes, and people into alignment or away from you. Most people's fields are chaotic because they don't know what they believe. They suppress what they feel. And they repeat thoughts they inherited from a broken system. But your field has always been different. You feel more. You sense more, which means your field is more potent. That's why your manifestations are intense. That's why your fears become real fast. That's why people mirror your energy back to you within minutes. You're not cursed. You're powerful. Reality bends because your field is charged with spiritual mass. But here's where it gets interesting. Dark chosen nuns don't need vision boards or rituals to bend reality. Your body is the ritual. Your presence is the spell. You've probably noticed how, when you get clear, things move quickly. You decide something deeply, then the universe responds immediately. You declare a boundary and someone vanishes. You lean into your truth and a door opens. That's not magic. That's mechanics. You're not praying for change. You are the change. When you align your frequency with your truth, the hologram of reality has no choice but to rearrange around you. This is why clarity is your currency. Confusion weakens your field. Doubt makes your signal fuzzy. Fear lowers your voltage. But when you're clear, when you're grounded in your truth, you become a tuning fork for the new world. That's when you slip into what I call the resonance zone. In that state, you don't chase. You don't force. You don't hustle. You pull. You draw in, you magnetize. Money, people, opportunities, synchronicities, they come not because you begged for them, but because your field became undeniable. You've seen glimpses of this, moments when you were aligned and reality unfolded like a dream. That wasn't luck. That was you in coherence with your deepest self. Now, let's go even deeper. One of the most advanced keys to bending reality is understanding emotional frequency. Every emotion has a bandwidth. Shame is low and sticky. Anger is volatile but catalytic. Courage is stabilizing. Love is expansive. Truth is piercing. When you embody an emotion fully, you become a transmitter of that bandwidth. That's why when you walk into a room in full emotional integrity, whether you're calm, grieving, or ecstatic, the whole room feels it. You're not just feeling it, you're radiating it. And that radiation shifts the field. It either collapses illusion or elevates truth. That's why people either feel safe around you or deeply triggered. You don't even have to speak. Your energy speaks first. But here's the catch: you can't fake it. Your energy doesn't lie. That's why spiritual bypassing doesn't work for people like us. We can't fake smiles. We can't chant over wounds. We can't positive think our way out of the shadow. Because our frequency is too pure for that. It demands authenticity. It demands emotional honesty. And when we give it that, when we stop running from what we feel and start owning it as sacred, that's when our field becomes a quantum tool. That's when we stop bending reality unconsciously and begin doing it consciously, like a spiritual artist painting with vibration. Have you ever noticed that the more you suppress your power, the more chaotic life becomes? The more you deny your truth, the more resistance you face. That's not punishment. That's feedback. Reality is a mirror, and for dark chosen ones, it's a magnified mirror. It reflects your alignment or lack of it with brutal precision. Why? Because your soul signed a different contract. You weren't sent here to fit in. You were sent here to recalibrate the field. And the only way to do that is to be in full energetic truth. So let me ask you something that few dare to consider. What if your life is already responding to your power, but you're only using 10% of it? What would happen if you stopped pretending you were small? What would happen if you stopped diluting your energy to make others comfortable? What if every coincidence in your life was a breadcrumb placed by your own higher self, leading you back to your full frequency? This isn't a metaphor. This is real. You are not a passive resident of this reality. You are one of its architects. And when you remember that, when you embody that, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop surviving and start initiating. You stop bending and start bending reality. The sacred path of the frequency holder, and why the world can't evolve without you. There's a role so rare, so misunderstood, and yet so essential to the future of this planet, that only a small group of souls ever agree to take it. And they don't take it because it's glamorous. They don't take it because it's easy. They take it because at a soul level, they remember. They remember what's at stake. They remember what they came here to do. And whether they've fully awakened to it or not, they carry a vibration so potent that it can shift cities, bloodlines, and timelines just by existing in alignment. If you're still watching, still listening, still here, it's not by accident. You're one of them. You are a frequency holder. And the path you walk, no matter how silent, how invisible, how unacknowledged, is sacred. Not someday, not when you've healed everything, right now. Let's make something clear. The world we live in is not broken because people are evil. The world is fractured because it is out of resonance. We are living in a collective field that's been hijacked by fear, by programming, by ancestral trauma, by unprocessed pain. And it takes an immense amount of energetic precision to hold a different frequency in a world that constantly pushes you to lower yours. That's your sacred task. You are a stabilizer, a calibrator, a spiritual tuning fork. While others chase titles, platforms, influence, and approval, you are doing the invisible work of being. And being, at this level, is not passive. It's one of the most active, courageous, and radical things you can do in a reality addicted to noise and distortion. You've probably felt it your whole life. That quiet tension inside you, the pull between who you're told to be and who you are. The part of you that can't tolerate lies, even if it costs you everything. The part of you that can't fake your way through relationships, institutions, or ideologies that vibrate below your truth. That's not dysfunction. It's your original design. You were built to hold a different code. You were built to disrupt the unconscious field. And every time you speak when silence is more comfortable, every time you stay when others run, every time you love when it would be easier to shut down, you shift the collective field. You may not see the ripples, but they're real. And they're needed now more than ever. Because here's the secret: evolution doesn't happen through mass movements. It happens through individuals who hold a new frequency so steadily, so fiercely that the old world can't survive in their presence. You are one of those individuals. Your nervous system, your intuition, your emotional alchemy, these are not soft skills. They are technologies. You are a living transmitter. And the more you ground into your truth, the stronger your signal becomes. That's why the path has been so hard. That's why you've had to learn boundaries. Why you've walked alone. Why you've been deconstructed, humbled, cracked open. Because your vessel had to be purified enough to carry this charge. But here's where it gets mystical. As a frequency holder, your life is not linear. You're not operating on the same karmic clock as others. You've probably felt out of sync with time itself, like you're moving faster and slower than the world at once. That's because you're not here to follow the timeline. You're here to upgrade it, to anchor future codes into the now. You are a soul bridge. That's why certain things never worked out for you. The relationships that couldn't hold your frequency, the jobs that dulled your light, the plans that collapsed under their own density. The universe wasn't punishing you. It was protecting your calibration. Because your frequency is not just personal, it's planetary. You're not just healing yourself. You're healing patterns that go back generations. You're breaking spells cast by culture, by religion, by survival. You're digesting the unlived lives of your ancestors. You're remembering what they forgot. And that's why sometimes it feels too heavy, too much, too lonely. Because you're carrying what others couldn't. But the miracle is this: you're strong enough to do it. Not because you have something they don't, but because you remembered. So let me ask you something your soul already knows the answer to. What if your presence was the medicine? What if you didn't have to do more, achieve more, prove more? What if your greatest contribution to this world was your frequency, clean, clear, undistorted, and the courage to hold it when everything around you is shaking? Because that's what the world needs now. Not more performance, more presence, not louder voices, deeper resonance, not more fixes, more frequency. And you, as a dark chosen one, are the key. You are the transmitter through which a new dimension of consciousness is being born. Not someday, not somewhere else. Here, now, through you. The final activation: when you step into your power, the world begins to change. There comes a moment on every awakened soul's path when the internal work is no longer just about healing, it becomes about embodiment. It's no longer about seeking the light, but becoming it. No longer about understanding your power, but living it. This is the final activation. And for a dark chosen one like you, this moment is not just a turning point, it's a planetary trigger. Because the instant you fully step into your power, the world around you begins to transform. Not because you forced it, not because you convinced anyone, but because that's what truth does. It reorganizes everything it touches. So many of us have been waiting for the right time, waiting to be perfect, waiting for the fear to disappear. But let's be honest, perfection is a myth, and fear is part of the process. You don't activate your power after you feel ready. You activate it by saying yes even when you're trembling. The final activation happens in real time, in real life, in the messy, sacred chaos of now. It's in the moment you speak up, even with a shaking voice. It's in the moment you walk away from what no longer serves, even if it means walking alone. It's in the moment you choose alignment over approval, truth over comfort, soul over safety. And something wild happens when you do. The universe responds instantly. Doors open. People shift. The environment around you recalibrates to match the new energetic standard you've embodied. You are no longer living in reaction, you are living in resonance. Because power is not about control, it's about clarity. And when your clarity becomes sharp enough, the fog of illusion can no longer survive in your field. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop explaining and start embodying. You stop leaking energy into things that drain you, and instead become a container for something divine to move through you. That's the highest service you can ever offer the world, not fixing it, but being the frequency that reveals a higher possibility. Let's be clear, this doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes aligned. You'll still face challenges, but they will refine you, not define you. You'll still encounter resistance, but you'll meet it with power, not panic. And you'll begin to notice something beautiful. The more you live in your truth, the more permission others feel to live in theirs. You become a silent permission slip for others to remember who they are. You don't have to preach. You don't have to teach. You just have to be. So I ask you one final question, the kind that only your soul can answer honestly. Are you willing to stop waiting for the world to change and instead become the change that realigns the world? Because that's what dark chosen ones were born to do. To walk into distorted fields and hold such a grounded, unshakable presence that the distortion begins to unravel. To embody such fierce love that fear has nowhere to hide. To carry such deep truth that the lies collapse without a fight. You are not here to fit in. You are here to ignite. You are not here to follow. You are here to lead, even if no one sees it. Even if no one claps. Even if you lead from the shadows. Because the shadows are sacred too. And you, dear soul, are the bridge between the light and the dark. The alchemist. The guide. The storm and the stillness. The wound and the wisdom. This is your time. Not someday. Not after another meditation, another book, another healing session. Now, your frequency is needed. Your voice is needed. Your embodiment is needed. The final activation is not something you wait for. It's something you choose. Choose it now. The world is already shifting in your presence.